want to talk for a minute about the role of Agamemnon in this first book of the Iliad. The opening scene with him is instructive. He is a character who pops up throughout many different aspects of Greek culture. Not just he's in the more or less in the two Homeric poems. He has plays written about him. He is a legendary figure in more than one way, and his story is considered at the core of much of ancient Greek culture. In fact, it is his story and the story of his ill-fated return from home that is mentioned right at the very beginning. But his betrayal and his portrayal in this first book is interesting. He is inarguably a somewhat hot-tempered individual, a little irrational, a little immoderate, a little trigger-happy. He is, for better or for worse, a bad leader. He is nominally in charge of this whole expedition. The alliance lines are very fractious to begin with, which we've kind of touched on. But he is supposed to be in charge. He is the greatest king of Greece at the time. So he's the top guy. But he's kind of irrational. He is he's a bad leader. When he first hears from Calchas, when Calchas comes on the scene and gives his little read on the situation and says, well, it all kind of started with Agamemnon, stealing this girl and refusing to give her back. He does not react well. He takes what is a problem for his entire army and he personalizes it. And he says, what are you doing to me? Instead of, how can I make this good for the other thing? He has no sense of scale or proportion. Everything is out to get him. He is a victim in this. Instead of just the pragmatic solution would be probably just to give the girl back. But instead, he lashes out somewhat hysterically. I particularly like around line 105, glaring, he first addressed Calchas, prophet of evil, never you have spoken anything good for me. Always to prophesy evil is dear to your heart, which is roughly translated from the ancient Greek, crying fake news. He doesn't like to hear bad news. He gets wounded personally. He feels it as an infringement on his ego. Now, you can look into that in many different ways, but just on the information that we have right here in the text, he has every right to feel a little insecure. There are better men beneath him. Achilles, throughout the Iliad, is the most glaring example. Achilles is a better warrior, and Agamemnon seems to be intent on grinding him down. And he is happy to lead that and have all of these great warriors, but they all have to be working for him. There's a famous scene a little bit further on down the line where he is going around the lines in battle cheering on the Greek soldiers who are out there like slashing and hacking and killing Trojans left and right. And, and he's going around behind him saying, you go get him. Yeah, good job. Wow, keep it up. Feel the burn. Who knows? but he's not fighting at that moment. He has some scenes where he does some very impressive fighting, and he is justly considered a great warrior, I suppose. But at this one moment, he's going around, and the other heroes are sitting there like, would you leave me alone? Let me do my job. One of them actually says that explicitly, and he kind of takes it as an affront and skulks off. It's a very fragile ego. And it's because of that he lashes out at any question of having to give something up, something that is personal to him. Even however, you can make an argument that one extra slave girl isn't going to make or break him, but he sees it as an injury to his ego, and so he cannot take it. So he is quite embittered at that. But significantly, Achilles raises up initially. Achilles being, in many respects, the greater man, the better man, who is still naturally subservient to Agamemnon in the pecking order. Achilles stands up and says, "Most honored son of Atreus, of all men most covetous of possessions, how then can the great-hearted Achaeans give you a prize? We do not know of any great common store laid up anywhere, but those things we carried from the cities, these things have been distributed, and it is not fitting to go about gathering these things again from the men. But no, relinquish the girl and the god now. We Achaeans will pay you back 3 times, 4 times over, if ever Zeus gives us the well-walled city of Troy to plunder," which is a pragmatic approach. We cannot collect back everything that we have stolen individually already to redistribute it to your advantage, but cool your jets for now, and it will pay off down the line. Think in terms of consequences. And significantly, I will point out as well, Achilles is talking in the first person plural here. You hear a lot of we. We do not know. We carried from the cities. We Achaeans. He is seeing himself in this moment as one of the group, one of the team. And he is not personalizing it that way. He is connected to them. This is aidos, the interconnectedness, the social bonds that are going to become so much a part of the rest of this poem is right here at the beginning. Achilles defining himself within that network of people in opposition to Agamemnon. But it goes off the rails when Agamemnon singles out Achilles. Those frail social connections start to fall away, and Achilles can't quite handle that. And when it becomes personal to him, and he suddenly, individually, out of everybody else, is the only one to have to lose something, that's when he personalizes it, and he goes off the rails. You see him lash out, "Never do I receive a prize equal to yours when the Achaeans sack some well-walled city of the Trojans. It is my hands that conduct the greater part of furious war, yet when it comes to division of the spoils, yours is by far the greater prize, and I bearing some small thing, yet also prize." He sounds like a socialist, quite honestly. He sounds like, all this class resentment. Just because you're one of the 1%, Agamemnon, and I'm one of the 2%, you get to keep everything, and it's off of my sweat and labor. And Achilles has a right to feel a little taken advantage of. He is, again, their greatest warrior, and he is presumably doing more killing than Agamemnon. Achilles really likes killing. Agamemnon, he likes the glory of it. But you can see this little class hostility getting sounded right there, that distinct note of resentment, which fuels, again, that split from the we. Because Agamemnon is suddenly feeling that agitation. He was part of the group saying, we were this, we were that, we Achaeans can do this, we Achaeans are that. And now he's starting to single himself out. It is right after that part that he talks about never do I receive, and he's personalizing it around himself right there. But it was right after that he says, now I am going to Phthia, since it is far better to go home with my curved ships, and I do not intend to stay here dishonored. And he pouts, and he is individualizing himself, breaking off from, because of this hurt to his ego, this resentment, this class-based resentment. He is breaking off from the group, and he's no longer recognizing the social responsibility to the rest of the Greeks. And Agamemnon does, of course, the childish thing. Run then, if your spirit so moves you, nor will I beg you to stay here for my sake. Other men stand by me who will pay me honor. That's all he really cares about, people kissing up to him.